The first thing anyone noticed about him was the tie. It was always crooked, always slightly off, as if life had grabbed it in a hurry and never bothered to fix it. On that rainy Monday morning, as he stood in the glass lobby of the corporate tower with his shoulders tense and his eyes tired, the tie seemed to carry the weight of everything he was struggling to hold together. He was a single father, a man who had learned how to braid hair before sunrise and review spreadsheets after midnight. A man who had stopped expecting kindness from strangers. He had no idea that in just a few moments a small, unexpected gesture would quietly begin to change his life. He had arrived early, like he always did, because being late was a luxury he could no longer afford. His daughter's school bag still echoed in his mind. The way she had hugged him goodbye with sleepy arms and whispered that she believed in him. That belief was the only reason he kept going. The job interview upstairs felt like a last chance. Not just for him, but for the little girl who waited every evening by the window, counting the minutes until he came home. The building was intimidating in its perfection. Polished floors reflected a version of himself that looked more confident than he felt. He practiced his breathing, telling himself that he belonged here. The years of sacrifice and late nights meant something. Yet doubt crept in, heavy and familiar. His wife had passed away 3 years earlier, leaving behind silence, bills, and a child who needed him to be strong every single day. Somewhere along the way, he had stopped caring about appearances, about perfectly pressed shirts and straight ties. Survival had become the priority. She entered the lobby without noise, but her presence shifted the air. People straightened unconsciously, conversations lowered. She was the CEO, though he didn't recognize her immediately. To him, she was just a woman with calm authority in her posture, eyes that noticed details others ignored. She moved with purpose, but not arrogance. And when her gaze landed on him, it lingered for a moment longer than expected. She saw the tie before she saw the man, not because it looked sloppy, but because it looked human. In a world of sharp suits and practiced smiles, that crooked tie told a story of someone trying his best while carrying more than anyone could see. As she walked past, she hesitated, something rare for her. Then she turned back, without making a scene, without calling attention. She stepped closer. Her fingers reached up gently, fixing his tie with a practiced ease that startled him. The touch was brief, respectful, but it felt like a shock of warmth through his chest. She leaned in slightly, close enough that only he could hear her soft, teasing whisper that carried a deeper kindness beneath it. It was a reminder, delivered with a smile in her eyes, to stay focused, to remember where he was, and to believe that confidence mattered. There was nothing inappropriate, nothing crude, just a human moment wrapped in light humor and care. He froze, heart racing, unsure how to react. No one had touched him like that since his wife. No one had seen him, truly seen him, in years. By the time he gathered his thoughts, she had already stepped back, nodding once before continuing on her way. Others barely noticed, but he stood there feeling as if the ground had shifted beneath him. As he rode the elevator up, he replayed the moment again and again, not the touch itself, but what it represented. Someone had taken a second to help him, not because they had to, but because they chose to. It reminded him of the man he used to be, the one who believed in himself before grief taught him caution. He straightened his shoulders, adjusted the now perfect tie, and felt something unfamiliar stir inside him. Hope. The interview was difficult. The questions were sharp, designed to test not just skill, but resilience. He answered honestly, drawing from years of experience and the quiet strength he had built as a father. He spoke about leadership not as power, but as responsibility, about teamwork as survival, about failure as a teacher he knew well. By the time it ended, he was exhausted, but proud. For the first time in a long while, he felt he had shown his true self. Days passed without word. Life returned to its demanding rhythm. School runs, cooking dinners, reading bedtime stories while pretending not to be tired. He told himself not to expect anything. Expectations hurt. Yet every time he adjusted his tie in the mirror, he remembered that brief moment in the lobby and felt steadier. When the call finally came, it was unexpected. Not just an offer, but an invitation to meet with the CEO personally. His heart pounded as he walked into her office, sunlight spilling across the room like reassurance. She greeted him warmly, not from behind a desk, but standing, equal and open. She spoke about his interview, about the honesty she heard in his answers. She spoke about leadership shaped by life, not just textbooks. Then she surprised him by admitting she remembered him from the lobby. She told him that sometimes the smallest moments reveal the most about a person. A man who shows up despite exhaustion, who keeps going despite loss, who doesn't hide his humanity behind perfection, is someone worth believing in. The job changed his life, but not overnight. It brought stability, yes, but more importantly, it restored his sense of worth. He learned to balance ambition with presence, to succeed without losing himself. His daughter noticed the change first. The way he smiled more, the way he listened, the way he seemed lighter, as if a weight had been quietly lifted. Over time, their professional relationship grew into mutual respect. She became a mentor, challenging him, encouraging him to trust his instincts. He learned that her success hadn't come from being untouchable, but from understanding people, from knowing when to push and when to help someone straighten their tie. Years later, he would tell his daughter the story, not as a tale of luck, but of kindness. He would explain how one small act, given freely, can ripple through a life in ways we never expect. How confidence can be borrowed when someone believes in you, before you believe in yourself. The story wasn't about romance or power. It was about timing, humanity, and the courage to keep showing up even when you feel unseen. It was about a single father who almost forgot his own value, and a leader who remembered that success means lifting others, not just climbing higher. As the camera fades on this story, the message lingers. Kindness is never wasted. You never know who is standing in front of you, fighting silent battles, waiting for a reason to keep going. A small gesture, a moment of care, can become the turning point in someone's life. If this story touched you, if it reminded you of the power of compassion and perseverance, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Kindness Talks, because the world needs more stories that remind us we're not alone, and more people willing to fix a crooked tie when it matters most.